At North Shore Lake Tahoe casinos. The Tahoe resorts that tolerated gaming included the lake's most magnificent properties, like Talek House to the south and Tahoe Tavern at North Shore. Game or casino rooms allowed poker, but only the wealthy could afford the surroundings and the high stakes, where a $1,000 loss was easily laughed off, while the workers at Talek House made about $40 a month. Dwayne Bliss, a pivotal and often overlooked figure in the history of North Shore Lake Tahoe, played a significant role in shaping the region. As a general manager and largest stockholder of Carson and Tahoe Lumber and Fluming, he deforested Carson and Tahoe, removing 750 million board feet of old-growth timber, and started the Lake Tahoe Railway and Transportation Company to take tourists from Truckee to Tahoe City. And, of course, there were carriages to whisk away new arrivals to his Tahoe Tavern Hotel and Casino, which opened midsummer of 1902. The Calneva Lodge, built in 1927, hogs most of North Shore history. It was constructed on what was once Norman Biltz's land, most of which he sold to George Whittle, a San Francisco native born into gold rush wealth, who made an extravagant purchase by buying 27 miles of Nevada shoreline. He built an outrageous home on this prime real estate, a testament to his wealth and eccentricity, which he named Thunderbird Lodge. Bill Graham and James McKay's lodge offered 2 roulette games, and San Francisco and Hollywood elites like Clara Bow were known to lose as much as $5,000 in a night of gambling on the 15-table casino floor. There were only 12 slot machines to play. Along the drive to the Calneva Lodge, Larry McElvey built the Lavada Lodge, which became the Calvada Lodge in 1935, when Frank Mercer and his partner Mac Barrett ponied up $175,000 for the resort. Mercer owned the South Shore main entrance casino, featuring penny roulette. The partners later sold to Joby Lewis, who renamed it the New Calvada Lodge and purchased land across the roadway next to the Tahoe Biltmore. Then, he sold the lodge to Bertie Ironstoss, who ran the Mapes in Reno, and his partners Andrew DeSimone, Frank Granis, and Tom Guerin, who reopened the club as a Baltabarin with weekend stars like comedian Shecky Green. Friday night dinners were $1.95 for whole crab plates. Joby Lewis purchased another piece of property from McElvey across the highway, and in 1955 opened Joby's Monte Carlo, squeezed tight between the Calneva Biltmore and the California state line. In 56, he sold that property and it became just the Monte Carlo. 2 years later, Lincoln and Metta Fitzgerald, who owned the Nevada Club in Reno, bought all the stragglers up, the Calvada, the Baltabarin, and the Monte Carlo. The Vada and Tabarin were closed forever. The Monte Carlo became a nice restaurant attached to the Fitzgerald's new property, which they called the Nevada Lodge Casino. Norman Biltz and Pete Bennett built the Tangivahoe Casino and property. It was a multi-purpose facility, and it opened in 1937. Beautifully appointed with stonework exterior and polished wood floors inside, it offered a dining room, the Bucket of Blood bar, a post office, a furniture store, a drugstore, and even a bowling alley. Nick Abelman paid $125,000 for the casino property, with Frank Fatt fronting for him. Otis Babcock and Art Nyberg ran the casino. Fatt ran the restaurant. As was the custom then, dealing and pit boss jobs had to be bought. $100 was the going rate for a season. The property was later sold for $300,000 in 1945 to a group of investors led by Johnny Rayburn. He had just sold the Buckhorn Inn at Kings Beach to do the deal. That property had Tony Gallerini and Dixie Reese running his small casino. He opened the Sierra Lodge next door so Gallerini and Reese could run a new casino. The winter of 51-52 was harsh, with little business, and Rayburn needed to get out. He sold the Tangivahoe to Hiljamer Slim Laborde and Ray Plunkett. They renamed it the Crystal Bay Club. Stanley Parsons bought the Sierra Lodge next door. He was from Walnut Creek, California, and watched over Gallerini, Mabel, and Dixie Reese for 3 years before running the club himself. Bring a buck and a truck, he used to say. He sold the property to Jim Kelly in 1962, who reopened it as Jim Kelly's Nugget. Sam Termini owned a piece of Bones Remmer and his Willow Tree Casino in San Mateo, California. His father-in-law was Charles Bonaggio, the crime boss of Kansas City. Kansas City was tied to the Chicago outfit, which had taken control of the bank club in Reno and was expanding to the lake. The Tahoe Biltmore opened in 1948 with a host of owners. The casino was run by Sanford Adler. He didn't seem to get any of the profits, though. Perhaps Chicago was already in the count room by then. A year later, Termini was running gambling. In early April of 1950, Bonaggio and his second-in-command, Charles Gargato, were gunned down. Each shot 4 times. The outfit may have knocked off Bonaggio, but they put Termini to work. Where? At the Horseshoe Club in Vegas, of course. From 1951 to 55, the casino at the lake was named the Calneva Biltmore, and Robert Piccoli ran it. Cappy Rick's casino opened east of where the Tahoe Biltmore was built. It was a brainchild of Cappy Ricks, who spelled his last name different than he had it on the marquee, but it opened in 48. It was a rustic property compared to the beautiful Biltmore next door. The casino offered roulette, craps, chuck-a-luck, and 21. There were 11 slot machines and a restaurant. Jimmy Hume acquired the club with partners Jerry Cooper, Bucky Harris, Walter Melrose, Harold Murphy, and George Eugenopoulos a year later. In 1970, George Raymond Smith, the son of Harold's Club founder Pappy Smith, purchased the property. 4 years later, Chester Conrad and Al Banford bought the club before selling it to Ray Plunkett, who renamed it the Tahoe Mariner. It was licensed until '81. Lincoln Fitzgerald ran the Nevada Lodge for nearly 30 years. It was sold and repurchased several times. It's currently closed. Across the street, at the Crystal Bay Club, the property has gone through a slew of owners, but it's still open. Down the highway from State Line, the Incline Village Casino opened in 1966. It ran well and made a profit and was purchased by Nate Jacobson in 1969 after he cashed out his Caesars Las Vegas shares. Jacobson expanded the property with Teamsters Union cash and had debts to pay every week, which became much more difficult as his count room became nothing more than a slush fund for the mob. Inside the Camelot-themed resort, the cocktail servers and bartenders had a nightly split of unrung drinks, and security guards were stealing from the drop. Definitely a no-no. Although the 11-story castle had 470 rooms, a casino with 22 table games, 300 slot machines, and a small keno lounge, the skim was just too high. Bills couldn't be paid. It was sold and reopened with Jimmy Hume at the helm. Roy Rittner ran the hotel, and a year later Hyatt Hotels bought the property in May of '75. Thanks for watching Nevada Gaming History's look at early North Shore Lake Tahoe casinos. Much of the information here is offered in much greater detail in Nevada's golden age of gambling and Vegas and the mob, which expand upon ties to Reno and Lake Tahoe. I also want to thank my contributors from left to right, Bill Petit, Fran Petit, and Sil Petrucciani. If you want more information on Nevada casino history, go to my website.